This slide is just to make you familiar with the three allotropes of carbon, that is diamond, fullerene and graphite. So this is diamond structure, this is structure of fullerene, and this is for graphite. Now, why is graphite a conductor of electricity whereas these two are not? So here if you see, this is the structure of diamond and it is said to be a regular tetrahedron structure. All these here red balls which you are seeing, they are carbon atoms, and the carbon has got valency 4. It has 4 electrons in its valence shell. Now, in order to establish octet, it needs another 4, so it will form bonds with 4 other carbon atoms. So if you take this atom of carbon, the central one here, it has already formed bond with one carbon here, second, third and fourth. So there is no free electron left with this particular carbon. Similarly, you take up any other carbon atom. If you take up a carbon atom here, it has also formed one bond here, 2, 3, and this is fourth. So since there is no free electron in case of diamond, it's a poor conductor. Same is the case with fullerene also. Coming to graphite, the structure of graphite is referred to as hexagonal planar because you can see so many hexagons here. This is a hexagon, so it's called as a hexagonal planar structure, and you can see stacks of the graphite one above the other. This is how the molecules have been arranged, one above the other, so it is stack like. Now here if you take one atom of carbon here, it is forming one bond here, second here and third here. So only 3 valencies are satisfied, fourth one is not. There is one still free electron with this particular carbon in case of graphite. You take up any other, like if you take up this carbon atom here, it is forming one bond here, second here and third one is here. So since there is one free electron still left, graphite is a good conductor because we know flow of electrons is flow of electric current. So if electrons are there, free electrons are there, only then electrical conductivity can take place. So graphite is a good conductor. Let's go on to the next topic. Coming to the properties, chemical properties of metals. The very first property is reaction of metals with oxygen. We know that metals are highly reactive and their reactivity is on account of less number of electrons in their valence shell, that is 1, 2 or 3. So they lose these electrons and they become stable. These electrons in turn are accepted by non-metals. For example, oxygen, it's a non-metal, so it will accept this electron that is donated by, say, sodium, 1 electron, and it will form a bond with it. So metals in general are electron donors and non-metals are acceptors. So here one such equation we have to study, reaction of metals with oxygen. Here the metal is sodium and the non-metal that we are going to take is oxygen. Now sodium, if it is left exposed to air, then it has got a very high tendency of combining with oxygen, and it combines with oxygen and gets converted into its oxide. That is, it is going to get oxidized, we can say. So sodium is a very strong reducing agent, but it itself is getting oxidized and it gets converted to sodium oxide. So this is one reaction. Now just to explain it to you that how is this compound sodium oxide formed. So here we have sodium, the electronic configuration, 2 atoms I have shown here because we have 2 atoms of sodium here, and oxygen is 2, 6. So 1 electron each from each sodium atom, 1 electron from each sodium is going to be donated to this oxygen. Oxygen needs 2. So both when they are donated, they are accepted by oxygen and there is a bond that is formed between the two, that is a compound sodium oxide is formed. So by donating 1 electron, sodium will develop 1 positive charge. This sodium will also develop 1 positive charge. And this oxygen here, it is accepting 2 electrons, so it will develop 2 unit negative charge. Now when you cross the valencies between these two, you will get this formula, that is Na2O. So this is what happens when a metal comes in contact with oxygen, it gets oxidized. Secondly, on exposure to air, sodium readily catches fire because the reaction is highly exothermic. Therefore, to prevent accident in laboratory or elsewhere, it is kept in kerosene. So sodium is a metal, its density is high, and kerosene, it's a hydrocarbon, and it the sodium dips completely inside kerosene. And when it dips completely inside kerosene, the contact between sodium and the air is cut. As a result, sodium does not come in contact with oxygen and doesn't get oxidized. So oxidation of sodium can be prevented in this way. Oxides of some metals are soluble in water. They react with water to form alkali. So this is one example of a metal oxide which is soluble in water, and it gives rise to sodium hydroxide, which is called as an alkali. Now what are alkalis? Hydroxides of metals of first group are called alkalis. So accordingly, we will have potassium hydroxide, lithium hydroxide, and sodium hydroxide. All these belong to first group, and their hydroxides are called as alkalis because they are also soluble in water. So this is one example. We know that this reaction is highly exothermic. This is an exothermic reaction. Heat will be released here, and so in order to prevent sodium from getting oxidized and coming in contact with oxygen and water from the air, it is always stored under kerosene. So I hope you have understood this property. Let's move on to the next one. Let us take up one more example of reaction of metals with oxygen, and the metal is magnesium. Magnesium oxide is formed on burning magnesium ribbon in air. So here we have magnesium wire or ribbon combines with oxygen, but only on heating. We need to heat the magnesium ribbon in order to combine with oxygen, and it gives rise to magnesium oxide, and that is solid ash. This magnesium oxide is soluble in water, and it gives rise to magnesium hydroxide. So magnesium oxide reacts with water to form an alkali called magnesium hydroxide. Magnesium belongs to alkaline earth metals group, that is the group number 2. So here also these are also soluble in water, not very highly soluble in water, but to a considerable extent. So magnesium hydroxide is formed. So with this we come to the end of reaction of metals with oxygen. We now move on to the next chemical property of metals. Coming to the next property is reaction of metals with water. We will start with sodium and potassium metals, which are very reactive. They will react with cold water. Sodium and potassium both react with cold water, and they give rise to their respective hydroxides along with the release of hydrogen gas and heat. So both the reactions are highly exothermic. I want you all to simultaneously see the balancing part also. Okay, so here we have 2 hydrogen, here we have 3 hydrogen. To balance it, we write coefficient 2 here. This is your first step. This makes hydrogen 4. To make hydrogen 4, you write 2 here. So now sodium becomes 2, and here also sodium becomes 2. 2 oxygen is already balanced. Both these reactions are on the same lines of balancing, so we will not discuss the second one. Same as in the first one, same as the balancing here. So both these reactions are exothermic and they react with cold water. Calcium also reacts with cold water, but we do not write heat over here because the heat that is released is not considerable. So heat is not written here. Instead, we just write down the product as calcium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas is released here also, but it's not a very exothermic reaction, so no heat is written. Now here the balancing is, here we have 4 hydrogen, 2 we can see here and 2 here. So total 4 hydrogen. To make 4 hydrogen here, we write a coefficient 2. Oxygen becomes 2. Here we already have 2 oxygen. Remaining atoms are balanced, that is calcium is already balanced. So this is what is the case. Now calcium starts floating or jumping in water. Now why does this happen? So this hydrogen which is released is in the form of bubbles. Bubbles of H2 gas are given out. Now these bubbles go and they attach on the piece of calcium. Now this gives buoyancy. Buoyancy means weightlessness, or it makes it very light. And so this calcium starts jumping, or what we say, it starts floating in water. So calcium reacts with water slowly and less vigorously. So here we had seen that the reaction was very rapid, that is fast, and vigorous, that was very, very strongly it reacts. And as I said, the water is cold, and what happens is that hydrogen gas is instantly released along with lot of heat. So, but as compared to calcium, the reaction is very slow, or it reacts with water less vigorously. And the hydrogen gas released in this reaction collects on the surface of the metal in the form of bubbles, and the metal floats on water. So why calcium floats on water? A 2-mark give reason can be asked to you. You have to write down this balanced equation, and then you have to explain that how hydrogen gas bubbles deposit on the calcium piece, and that gives it buoyancy, or it makes it very light, and so it starts floating on water. So this is what is about the 3 types of metals that they react with water. We now move on to some more examples of reaction of metals with water.